What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Campus Cuts. I'm your host, Tanaka Tava, and today I got a special guest. I got an actor, I got an entertainment entrepreneur, a keynote speaker, a consultant, a professor, a Netflix guy. Somebody's been on BET, featured in all these publications, a man that is moving the culture, and a fellow frat brother of the A Phi Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Have a special guest. His name is Mr. Justin Key. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Man, I just want to say thank you so much for taking your time out to be on the show. I'm super excited because I have followed you. I've followed your career. I followed everything about you. I know you're associates with Hill Harper. I know that you're followed by Devon Franklin, Matthew Cherry. You're somebody that's moving within this space. And so I will always remember, like, man, one day I'm going to talk to these people. I'm going to talk to all these people some way, somehow, whether I'm going to work with them or collaborate with them. But that was just like, what, 2-3 years ago. And now to imagine actually happening and coming to fruition, wild.
Right. You put it out there. You first got to be able to see it and speak it. And then from there, God really does align that together. And, there's no more perfect strategist than God. So
Absolutely. Yeah. God is great. God is amazing. So, well, I was able to give you that, rambunctious introduction. But I mean, of course, as you said on your website, you are a modern day Renaissance man. But I want you to give a little bit of your introduction. So what is your name? What is your occupation? And then your hometown. And then we move forward into the conversation.
Okay, cool beans. Everyone, my name is Justin Key, based in Los Angeles, California. I am an actor, a working actor. I'm a published author. I consult. I own a couple of businesses. I travel the world speaking as well. I am originally from Rossville, Tennessee, which is about 30 minutes outside of Memphis. And I call both my home Memphis and Rossville. And I subscribe to the notion that we should never put limits on the grace that's on our lives. And so I always say that if we're made in the image of God, then why are we limiting ourselves? He is unlimited in everything he does. So tap into that. And so that, I think that really just sums up. Oh, I'm a mathematician as well. Sometimes always forget to throw that in there, but yeah, I'm a mathematician also.
Yeah, wow, that's you wear a lot of hats, man.
Yeah, I'm pretty organized to be able to keep everything together. I try to stay as organized as possible.
Absolutely. And this is what the show was about. I forgot to preface this, but for anybody that's new to the show, the reason why I even started this, well, first, I don't want to call it a podcast anymore. Now it's becoming a show. It's becoming like a movement, a talk show, whatever. And I'm a little bit hesitant on talk shows because I don't want to be like Jimmy Fallon and just featuring some bread and circus Rome. Like, hey guys, this is gonna show. I'm gonna talk about nothing. And no offense, great millions of viewers, but continuing, the mission was to bring something of substance and value. And by that, you look at LeBron James to shop, you're looking at Joe Rogan. I was inspired by a couple of those cats. And it was predominantly a school project because I was the diversity and inclusion multicultural officer at my school for student government. And then after that, they chose me because I was one of the few Black guys and they thought I was safe, but that was the contrary. But I was supposed to go on listening tours and I wanted okay, how can this thing be broadcasted? Because I know, and that with the ideas of verbal communication and written communication, it can be perceived and received in a different way, in a different light. And I know that if I was supposed to go there and be a representative of a campus, I won't be able to do that or steward that responsibility well by just hearing this person's experience and talking to them. So I started this as a way to continue to broadcast people's thoughts, opinions, ideas about society and culture and how they feel on campus. And then after that, I just started running with it. And now we are here.
I love it. I love it.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. And I just want to say thanks so much again for being on here. And you said that you're coming out, you're from, Tennessee. How I want you to first talk about your journey. Like, how were you able to
Mm.
go from Tennessee to where you are now?
Well, it's it was a lot initially because I come from a farm town. Like I was born and raised on a farm. Like I
Right,
had to feed the pigs before the bus came in the morning. I'm the eighth of nine kids. And so I was the first in the family to go to college. And so my grandparents were really big on me getting an education. So I went to college in Memphis. I went to Lemoyne College. It's a small HBCU in Memphis. And that opened my eyes to the entire world and possibilities. It
right,
was really like if you're familiar with the show A Different World, it was really
yeah,
my version of a different world. Like I was blown away all of the amazing the different type of black people, the professors international from every country. Like I'm learning so much and also realizing like, oh, like they're really saying that I can do and be anything.
right,
And so I was like, okay, I want to do everything then. If I have a choice, if I can do anything, I want to do everything. And so mentors of mine was like, okay, that's a lot, but if you're disciplined, organized, centered, and humble enough, everything is possible. Not
right,
anything, everything is possible. And so I really I've always wanted to be an actor. I always wanted to move to California before I even knew how to spell California. And so, but I didn't know how to get there because I'm from, once again, a small farm town. I don't know anybody.
right,
I don't know how
right,
that even worked. So in college, I majored in mathematics, but at the same time, I was a member of the acting society. I was doing commercials and voiceovers and plays while in the city, still keeping my GPA up. And then my senior year of college, and I spoke and did a lot in college. And so I think that it really set the tone, me like performing in college, me speaking, living in a tuxedo, because I was a student who basically you could say I was the face of the college. And so I was
right,
at every gala, I was at every event, anything happening in the city. And what's great about Lemoyne on college is because when I first started saying I wanted to go to college to be an actor and I wanted to really pursue this as a career, every time a celebrity came to the city of Memphis, the
right.
college made sure that I had to sit down with them. It was like, oh, you
Really?
want me to schedule a lunch? You want me to schedule a dinner? We'll invite them to campus and then introduce you. And I was like, okay. They was like,
Oh
well,
man.
yeah. Like the school went hard for me, went hard for me. And so getting that, and then I my senior year, I auditioned for the American Musical and Dramatic Academy in LA.
Yeah,
And then I found out that I got in, I got a scholarship. And so instead of being this world famous mathematician or working for the FBI or getting my master's in mathematics, I told my family that I'm moving to LA to become an actor.
yeah. How was that?
Ooh, ooh. If there was a will, I was written out of it because they were a what? A actor? What you know about? You don't know nobody in California. You done lost your mind. All this money they offering you to work. And so the family was not happy whatsoever,
Yeah,
not happy whatsoever. And so I didn't really tell many people besides my friend group that I was leaving to go to LA. And I was very
right,
discouraged. Like I was depressed because everybody had such a negative opinion about it. And
right,
I didn't fault them for it because they're really just looking out for me. Like once again, I'm a country farm boy, and I just said that I'm moving to Hollywood to be an actor. They was like, "You
right.
ain't got no money, you don't know nobody there. How are you going to do this?" And I remember praying to God. I was like, "I need a sign because my entire life, do I stay here and work? Do I take all these job offers? What should I do?" And a friend of mine, Emma Beth Weaver, and she randomly called me. She was like, Justin, she was like, I was reading my word, and Emma was president of campus ministry in undergrad. And so
Right.
she's like, I was reading my word and I was studying, and God told me to tell you this. And mind you, she had no idea that I wanted to go to Hollywood. and that I got into the school. And she said, "This is a word that God gave me." And she said, "The will of God will never take you where the grace of God isn't willing to go." And that was like, so if I go to Los Angeles, the grace of God is going to follow me there.
Yeah.
I booked a one-way ticket.
Wow.
I booked a one-way ticket at that right after I got off the phone with her.
Wow.
hmm And the rest is history. It was, I mean, it was a lot. It's tough. Like a lot of people want to get into entertainment, but acting is tougher than mathematics. So I'm like, y'all, like people
Yeah.
really be playing these games, like the getting into character, really knowing your instrument, tapping into your emotions,
Right.
memorizing tons of things. Like it's really, and then once again, I'm a math person. So now I'm in LA studying acting. So I'm using my right and left brain. So my mentors now call me mentally ambidextrous to be able to use
Yeah.
whatever side of the brain at will. But it was
Yeah.
difficult. I think, but randomly, my most difficult thing was my accent, my dialect. My
Right.
southern dialect was very thick, and because not that I'm just from the south, but I'm from the farm. So
Right.
my southern drawl was so thick that I had to take extra classes, work with more professors, to be able to, because I was so limited in what I could play or what I could do because my Southern dialect was so thick. I could act, but I could only play Southerners because that's only. And so once I was able to perfect that in school, and I was unleashed into Hollywood, and I've had a pretty good run thus far. A pretty good run
Yeah.
thus far.
Yeah, that's amazing. That there's so much to unpack there. And I just want to talk about this idea of, you being the first one in your family to go to university.
Mhm.
To do not even go, but like it just sounds like your story, like you were the first to do a bunch of things. And I want to ask you, like, what does the idea of risk mean for you? And why did you feel like that you had to take the risk to be able to not only go to college, but to be able to go to Los Angeles to pursue your dream?
I always say that no risk, no reward. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people have heard that. But I
Right.
also, even with risk and fear, everything you want is on the other side of fear. And
Right.
so, and I'm a very, very spiritual person, if you haven't been able to tell. Um, and I always think on even like the lessons of the Bible. I mean, look at King David.
Right.
It's like, yo, like he was he was the anointed king, yet Saul was trying to kill him. And it's like, so it's like, and God is like, well, why do you think that you're not going to go through anything? Joseph was sold into slavery by
Right.
his brothers, and he ended up technically really being the prince of Egypt and bringing the Jews, the Israelites over, and giving them protection, until he died and everything. So it's like, yeah, so it's like when you see that God's mightiest warriors and brightest champions all went through something and all risked their lives, the blueprint is already set. So why should I expect everything to be hunky dory, or why do I expect everything to be handed to me? And I don't
Mm.
mind, and it took a while because God spoils me. So I'm like a spoiled kid. I'm like, ooh, I'm like, I don't like that God. I'm like, oh my goodness, like that was me. And it was like,
Yeah.
and so I was like, God like really started like piling on the struggles and the stress and the risk. Moving to
Mm.
LA when I didn't have a job. I didn't know anything about the school. It was my second time on an airplane. Like I knew nothing. But I had this peace, and that's all I needed. That's all
Right.
I needed. Yeah. And the risk, it turned out to be one of the best risk taking experiences of my life.
Man. And that's good because a lot of people had so many of these guests that I've always had, whether they're artists, entrepreneurs, like actors, like just
Hmm.
regular, just anybody. Like everybody has always said something about a common theme of just them taking going beyond the risk that they've always had, right?
Hmm.
And I really think I really liked how you made that emphasis of just how without no risk, nothing's good gonna come out of it. And like again though, it sounds so cheesy, but it's so real.
It really is. And risk is uncomfortable, but
Right,
growth is uncomfortable. And it's like, yo, like it's when I'm uncomfortable, I know that I'm growing. Now, don't get me wrong, it took a while to really get to that particular mindset.
right,
Like once again, I was spoiled. Like the minute um, size of inconvenience or being uncomfortable. I'm laying prostrate. Oh Lord, why have thou forsaken me? I thought I was one of your favorite. This is not what the Bible. And God is like, what Bible you reading? Because you must not be reading mine. Because I'm like, you Solomon, you see what happened, and I'm like, you right. Oh,
yeah,
I did pray for this. I prayed for success.
mm,
I prayed for all of that, and then you realize that you know social media isn't necessarily the correct depiction. Like for example, the people you see in California.
right,
Yes, we take pictures under palm trees. We're at the beach. We're talking about Sunday brunch. Brunches in LA is law. So it's like you see this life. You see them on television. You see them posting their feature in the Hollywood Reporter. But what you don't see is us being out of work or us
right,
working 12 to 14-hour days, barely making ends meet, trying to work out, not having enough money for even a gym membership. You know, it's like being depressed, not really having friends, and then even talking about the Me Too movement. What has happened to you on your journey? And what
right,
I always want to showcase is that it's not always sunshine. And I don't want to give anyone a incorrect depiction of what life in Hollywood or just life is, period. Because
right,
yeah, I want you to be as prepared as possible. And the only way for you to be prepared is to have the entire story. So then you can maneuver. It's just like, they wanted you to solve a math equation, but only giving you half of the problem. That's not going to
right.
work.
It's not gonna
So
work.
yeah, so it's like, I let people know, like, it's difficult. Like, as they say, for every 100 no's, there's one yes. But what if
Right.
you give up on the 50th or the 60th no, and then you take that, and then that's your whole life? Like, the industry isn't work, is corrupt. It's like, no, it's right. Tenacity, endurance is they're key for success in this industry.
That's good. That's good. I really love how you say that, and especially, are you going to even ask? That's a good segue, perfect segue into what I was gonna ask you anyway. When it comes to the idea of being somebody that's within this industry and how social media is personified,
Hmm.
how are you able to find that balance and not try to get too sucked in? Because I really think the idea of celebrity culture, and this is another thing I want to get your opinion on, is that more people are willing to celebrate people that they don't even know, rather than the people like that, rather than you, or
Hmm.
vice versa, right?
Hmm.
And so now you are an actor, you are a growing celebrity, you are a public figure. What is that like, and what is that tension and balance like of being able to have this level of influence, but also making sure that you want to know that you're keeping yourself humble and not trying to get too sucked up in just
Hmm.
that world?
You know, I take full responsibility for the influence that I have. And
Right.
when you even think about, Spider-Man with great power come great responsibility. But I, switch it up a little bit. With great influence comes great responsibility. So I always think of what type of legacy am I leading? Am I helping someone else? And
Mm,
because I always look at myself. What did I need when I moved here? I needed
right.
honest. I needed honesty. I needed truth. I needed help. Uh, and so I make sure that I don't falsely present that. And also, once again, I'm a country dude from the farm. So though I'm in Hollywood, like I'm still very, very true to my roots. First of all, my family's not going to let anything change that anyway. 'Cause as soon as I try to get high and falutin, like they pull me down. And so now, mind you, they do the most though, because I'll go home and be like, oh mom, can you use ground turkey instead of ground beef? She's like, get out of my kitchen. You take that stuff back to Hollywood. And also, even like, oh, mom, I'm gonna go out and buy some alkaline water because that's what I drink. And she was like, Alka Seltzer, what you drinking some Alka? Mama, alkaline. She was like, see, you doing too much. And so, and I'm like, so just like, but my like certain parts of my lifestyle, they'll definitely bring me down or try to
Right,
anyway. And so I try to keep that. I try to keep that balance because I'm not the only one looking at me. I have a
right,
whole county, a whole city, and a whole state that not necessarily depends on me, but I know that my success is not just for me. And
right.
so when you realize that there's something I was told a long time ago and it's burned in my head, and it's like um, when you realize that fulfilling your destiny allows other people to know and fulfill theirs, then you won't give up or slack on your own. So
Mm,
with that being said, I'm like everything that I do, someone else's dream is predicated upon that, upon me completing that with honesty, with integrity, with truth.
right.
And so I'm like, that's that. So that really keeps me centered in line on the straight and narrow. Because Hollywood is, when you get to a certain level, or if you just even know the right people, everything is
Changes.
at your fingertips.
Mm, mm,
Like,
mm.
I mean, just even be honest, like, whatever you see on television about Hollywood, it's like a small percentage. You got to be here. Like, honestly, just sex, drugs, and alcohol. I mean, because I want to be honest. I don't want anyone
Right,
to come here and then be completely overtaken and blown away by what is here. You have to
right,
have discipline. It's just like
right,
anything else. Too much sunshine is going to burn the crops. And so you have to take the good with the bad. And I don't know the specific wording with this phrase, like to really test a man's integrity or character is to either place everything that he want at his feet. And so it's like, what happens when you have all the money, when you have all the success, when you have all the people, and that really tells you who a person is. And
right,
so I try to really be mindful of that. Because like all my nieces and nephews are on my social media, my parents, my pastor, my pastor from back home. Like, I'm a little raunchy, like I'm very political,
right.
and I'm definitely a free spirit. So they get that. But there's, integrity doesn't change in my character, nothing that shifts my character at
Right.
all.
Right. That's such a good point. That is such a good point because again, and if you're going back to the biblical principles, we're
Hmm.
looking at Solomon. That man, Ecclesiastes is my favorite book, man. And I'm talking about, imagine him saying that he got everything, everything. He got the woman, he got the dollars, he got everything, and he still said it's still vanity. It is still vanity. And if it's
Hmm.
especially not rooted to what we're supposed to do and what we're called
Yeah.
to be, it doesn't
Hmm.
that doesn't mean not to enjoy it. Like I love that balance of like, hey man, you're going to it's refreshing in seeing that you're going to die. But don't even be worried about to die because nothing is new under the sun. But if we
Hmm.
don't live the life the way in like that is glorifying God, that is actually and representative of pushing somebody else forward.
Hmm.
Like you can't take it with you. What do you expect?
You can't. How many people are going to be blessed because of you?
Right,
That's what I think. That's what I think about. How many people are going to be blessed because of you? And what I realize that a lot of people think is money and success. Like a lot of people like put me on. And I'm like, you got to be taught first,
right,
because I mean, even when you think about these child celebrities, like Justin Bieber did an interview a few years ago, and he was saying, well, I mean, you talk about my bad boy days and, when I was out here wilding, but what do you expect when you give like a 13-year-old $50 million? And so
Right.
it's like, yeah, when you have that amount of access, and what people really need is mentorship, and so that you can really learn the game. And it's like learning the long game, not like, I want to get on television tomorrow and blow up and have a million followers on IG. And it's like, no, you still need to know about agents and managers and
Right.
networks, and who really are the gatekeepers in Hollywood, and making sure that your character is intact through your Netflix special, through you getting a first look deal, through you making the Forbes list, and you're GQ's sexiest man alive. It's like all of these things. There's so much you have to learn before you really get all that, or at least some things you should want to learn
Right.
before all of that success happens, and before TMZ is following you around the world, and all of a sudden
Right.
all your business out there, business that you didn't get a chance to correct, habits you didn't get a chance to fix. And so now it's like it's too late because you got it all right now. And man, I don't want TMZ and none of my business.
Man, you can say that again. And then just even talking about that, man. You know, we now we're starting to, because and that headed into, we're both creative multimedia entertainment entrepreneurs. We're going heading into that headspace. Um, we're noticing a shift that has taken too much of its time, too long. But why do you feel like it's important for us to have equity, and why is representation just important in all areas? And see, and like I really love how you're able to speak about not even just entertainment, but just within your field, such as a keynote speaker, as a professor at a higher education, as somebody that has traveled, as somebody that has written books. Like, I want you to get your perspective and share to the audience why you feel like it's important for us to be able to have equity, and how that's able to help transform people's lives.
Yeah, first of all, I'm glad that you said equity and not equality. And so just, jump into professor mode. Equality is giving everyone the same thing. So let's say if you were in a doctor's office and a person had one woman was there to give birth and she was having contractions, one guy was shot and the other guy had a headache. The nurse comes out and gives them all aspirin.
Right.
That's equality. Equity is giving each person what they need to be on a leveled playing field. And so with equity, then that's where you really have the conversation. And that's why we talk about Black Lives Matter. Because when you realize white lives aren't under attack as much as black lives. So that's why you really do need that equity. And it's so important, like, being all of these different things. Like I getting the education, writing for publications before I wrote a book, just given just those opportunities provided the equity that my less melanated counterparts get at birth. And
Right.
so and so me getting that equity and then returning that equity on to others as well. And I think that's so important. Opportunity and exposure really puts us in that equity category. And
Mm,
so without equity, without exposure and opportunity, what do we get? And then when you look at it, Serena Williams, who is incredible, and she says this too, like, I shouldn't be the only one, which is why
right.
now you see Naomi and
Hmm.
everyone coming behind her, more opportunities, more exposure. They're being exposed to her. So you see what happens when young black girls are exposed to
Right.
Serena and Vina and then given opportunities.
Right.
So, and then the same thing, like even for authors, like, I want to be a writer one day. Oh, great. Well, this publication is accepting submissions so that they can, let's check out your writing style. But that's equity. I am providing that opportunity to you, once again, that others don't typically get. And so if I didn't know that that was even an option, what would I've done? Go to YouTube, look up video, and just hope for the best? No, equity, giving me those opportunities and exposing me to so many different options. That's really how that just really puts you on a level playing field. And,
Mm,
even with, friends that are authors as well, and they're doing great, and they're signed with top agencies where their speaking fee starts
yep,
at 10K. And
yeah,
so it's like, what if we had that same opportunity and exposure? And it's getting better. It ain't getting that great, but it's getting better. And so, like, things are shifting in Hollywood, things are
right,
shifting in politics, hopefully,
right,
and different industries. And I'm hoping that equality and that equity, that people learn the difference between the two, and
right.
then definitely go on the equity range.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I think that was so vital for us to be able to do that. And I'm going to double back a little bit, step back a little bit,
Mhm.
and what's what was the thing that got you to acting? Because you lived in a time, like, I mean, of course you're not old, but growing up. No, 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 but I'm just talking about, like, if you
You.
look,
Mhm,
if people study media, or if people just study like things, right? If you just go
mhm,
back in history, like literally 20, 30 years, you're not seeing pictures of yourself. Like, for anybody that was not that's a person of color, a person of varying sexualities, a person
mhm,
that's of varying ability levels, you are not
mhm.
seeing a picture of
Correct.
yourself. Like,
Mhm,
you talk about the 80s, you're talking about the 70s, you're talking about the 60s, you're talking about the 50s. And
mhm,
then, so, like, how were you able to, like, what was there, like, some, like, play or something that you read that was like, I can actually do that because
mhm,
I saw somebody that looked like me.
mhm. Yeah. So two things, two two things that solidified this whole career dream lifestyle. One was watching, and I was young and perhaps probably shouldn't have watched it, but I watched What's Love Got to Do with It with Angela Bassett and Lawrence Fishburne.
Mm,
And once again, I'm on the farm, so I watch TV, but I always believed that everything on television was true.
right.
And so when I found out that Angela Bassett was not the real Tina Turner, I was like, she's acting? You can do that? How? Oh,
Yeah,
like, when I mean, the emoji,
right,
I
right,
was blown away that another human could play a role that good, because I was always watching cartoons. I didn't watch real shows.
right.
So as a kid, and just being, because, and also it was like our first time having like a new television, or like a floor model. We were, poor in country, so it was like a floor model television that was in color, and
Right.
we got a VHS player, and we watched What's Love Got to Do with It, and it really sowed a seed in me that I had no idea. I had no
Right.
idea. And then when I got to college, I still wanted to act, because I did, church plays, and I went to a small church, so I played every character in the Bible. One year, I played the guy who was whipping Jesus with the whip, and
Yeah.
then wasn't that many people at the church. So then I ran in the back, changed clothes, and came out, and then I was like, "Stop! He's our savior!" And
Yeah.
everybody was like, "Didn't he just hit him? Like, what did he?" And so I got to college, and I auditioned for my very first commercial my freshman year, because I was a
Yeah.
part of the acting society. And I booked the commercial, and it was for Black History Month for the National Civil Rights Museum. And so
Right.
I was in the room where the gunman fired the shot that killed Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., because he was shot in Memphis, and that's where I was
Right.
living. And
Yeah.
so it was like, and I saw myself on television, and I saw myself speaking. I was like, what? And
Yeah.
so then everything that I started praying to God about started taking shape in that moment. Like, I
Right.
still had a 4.0 GPA. I was still acing all of my math classes, but I was also speaking more. I was acting more. I was in the studio more. And I was like, oh, I can do this. I can do. I didn't. Now the only thing I didn't know was how much work it was. Ooh,
Yeah.
wee! I did
Yeah.
not know how much work it was until I
Yeah.
came to LA. But I'm pretty disciplined. I was like, well, I can't go back home. I mean, I could, but I ain't trying to go back. Slopping hogs. Even though I don't mind, I'm a country kid and
Right.
I love that lifestyle. But I'm like,
Right.
if I had a choice, let me stay in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And so then, learning the greats and learning as much as possible, being uncomfortable because growth is uncomfortable. And just being just a black man anyway,
Yeah.
being vulnerable,
Yeah.
crying in
Yeah.
acting class and expressing your feelings and tap into that emotion. I was like, what? A man don't cry? What you
Yeah.
talking about? And so just being vulnerable and learning self, being exposed to different cultures and different races and nationalities, different sexual orientation, it just made me a better person to just see like God's creation is so wide and so beautiful.
Right.
And who am I to discredit anything that God has created, a person that God has created? You believe what you want to believe, and I love you and respect you regardless because that's that's what the good book says. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so good, man. That is so good. And that you even have said that,
Mhm.
just about, the risk and how you are being open to everything and to everybody and being receiving it. Not necessarily meaning that you have to accept it, but
Mhm.
you are there and you're breaking these norms, these normatives, like the idea that a black man cannot cry. The idea that
Mhm.
somebody is not able to do something or achieve something because of what the world has tried to tell us, or the world
Mhm.
is trying to continue to put us down. And but I mean, granted, 2020 has been a year that has changed a lot, and then you're all about developing and growing. How has this year? How have you been able to pivot, especially like acting just going cut,
Mhm.
but um, what are like some of the things that you've learned through this season of a year? And now we're in quarter four, and then after that, another move, something happens.
Exactly.
I mean, how has this year tested? And what have you learned so far? Now that we're 10 months in.
you know, a brother is thriving. Um, my therapist was like, Justin, you enjoying quarantine a little too much.
Yeah.
You know, uh, Interestingly enough, majority of artists are introverts, and I
Right.
am the president of the committee. Like,
But
we're introverts with extrovert with an extrovert's career, and
absolutely.
so it has. I was able because prior to the Rona, I was traveling about 2 weeks out of a month. So I was in hotels and airplanes, just stacking miles, working, speaking, presenting, acting, working, speaking, presenting, acting, flying back to teach, doing this, doing that, doing projects with friends. And so everything stopping allowed me to really sit down and consult with God and, really take an inventory of my career, looking to see what are other options. And once again, and I will say this because something that you mentioned earlier about, you know, a master's and it being plan B, I say there's no such thing as plan B, only complements to plan A. So let's say if you do go grad school, that MBA is going to be a complement to your acting career. So now I'm
Yeah.
thinking quarantine is here. Let me center myself. And for the first few months, it was difficult. Not
Mm,
difficult with the Rona or not seeing her. It was difficult being black because of George Floyd and footage of black people just being murdered and police just being so savage. That was difficult. It wasn't like my creativity was stumped because I was so angry and depressed and And I really needed to feel that because,
Yeah.
having, I talked to God about it. I was just like, friends, it was like, this is a lot. It's really difficult just really being black and black in America, especially. And, I still read the Bible, I still meditated, I still prayed, I still enjoyed being away from everybody. And it was great. And then one morning during meditation, it was just like this breath of fresh air. And I was like, oh, my creativity is back. I must, whatever lesson I'm supposed to learn in the first few months, I learned it because now God is like, full speed ahead. And that's when I started, Mama Knows Best is a show that I
Right.
created and I'm pitching it all around. I'm now getting into voiceovers, which is a beautiful thing. I can go to a one person studio and record the voiceover, send it off, book, my check comes in the mail. It's a great thing. I also have an audio book dropping at the end of this month. And so it just allowed my creativity to breathe, to
Right.
go into different lanes, to not, I always say, don't think outside of the box. Get rid of the box altogether. Like there shouldn't be
Right.
a box when it comes to talent and creativity and your gifting. So now I'm like, okay, there's no box. What else can I do that's going to complement me as an artist, complement me as a human being, or whatever? And so, speaking more, doing a ton of Zoom interviews, jumping on podcasts, doing interviews because I didn't have time for this
Yeah.
prior. And so I get to connect with great people like you, your audience. I get to put out great work, continue to, you know, increase my brand of influence by being true to myself, being a help to others. And I've been able to pivot tremendously, talking to friends, helping with their
Right.
projects as well,
Right.
arguing with my family because that's what I like to do. Challenge their ideas. Like, you've been in California. I'm like, no, you're Southern and you're conservative, and that's got to stop. And so I just like to be a little controversial, sprinkle a little controversy in the family. Like, oh Lord, here come
Yeah.
Hollywood. So yeah, it's been a great time pivoting in that regard.
Man, that's really good, and I love that how that there is a sense of, I mean, of course, and again, as you said it, like again, growth is on the other side of an uncomfortable thing,
Hmm.
because there's this quote, I forget the quote, but it said that the man that doesn't know how to sit still, that's the reason for all the problems in his life. Or it's like I'm paraphrasing,
No, no,
but
yeah.
it's so true. Like a lot of I think the majority of the problems that we do have is because it hasn't been stillness, but because we live in a culture that continues to push forward that this work or die mentality.
Mhm.
Whoa, man, man,
Yeah.
man. Um, But man, your schedule sounds like I watching a Forbes interview of like Nick Cannon, how like he would always travel, go to class, do meetings, this. It's so funny because like us people that are like that are doing a lot, that are achieving like great stuff. You can get tired, you can get burnt out by all this routine and just like so much moving around. And you try to tell people, do you ever sometimes wish that you had a quote unquote normal life?
No. No, and I do not. I accepted years ago that God has built me for this life.
Right.
And and I've told God, I was like, I don't mind living on the farm. Like if something pops off in Hollywood where I'm blackballed, that's not going to affect me. Like
Yeah.
I've accepted full responsibility. And interestingly enough, friends of mine, we were all talking a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was, yeah, like last month, and they said, would you be okay with the 1% level of celebrity of fame? You know, like the Oprahs of the world who can't go to Target by themselves.
Right.
And interestingly enough, all my friends are like, I don't, and they're successful. They're like, but I don't want that level of success. They said, I want to be, of course, you want to be wealthy. You want to be able to do things and
Right.
experience things. But they said they do want their life and their privacy. And interesting, and I'm the only introvert out of that particular group of friends.
Right.
And so there was, I know it was like, so Justin, what about you? And I said, no, not that I want the 1%
Right.
level of success. I said, but God, if God grants it, I will accept it because of the good that I can do with it.
Right.
I once again, I would love to just fly first class, of course, back home. You know, um, pick greens on the farm with my
Right.
mom, pick corn, ride the horses and, play with the pigs and the chickens. Like that's, wear some overalls and yeah, do that. I'll do that wherever. But if my purpose is to be that 1%, then I'm even going to work even harder having more alone time with God because once again when you have access and exposure at
Right.
that level, you really have to be mindful of everything that you do. And once again, I'm very political, or not very political, but I had to become political. Like I tell artists, you have to be political too because they're cutting funding for the arts. And I always ask my students, who could afford private lessons in high school for acting, singing, and dance?
Nope.
And maybe like 10% raise their hand. And so
Right.
I'm like, yeah. So I'm assuming the rest of you took acting, singing, dance, and performing classes in high school. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, the funding is being cut. So just
Yeah.
imagine you having to take extra science and math classes. And once again, I'm a mathematician, and I'm
Yeah.
saying that we should have the option.
Right.
And so, in order for us to even be able to say certain things, like we have to jump in the political game because now, I mean, it has always affected us, but the media is really like, yo, they're taking art out of schools,
Yeah.
and so it's like, yo, and then once again, I always ask artists, I was like, who loves math? And it was like, just this is a performance class. None of us loves math, so it's like, just imagine being forced to do it when you know that you're not that type of learner.
Yeah.
And so I was like, now that's why you need to get into politics and be a little controversy at times.
Yeah, and you're definitely right about that in terms of, and I think whatever side too, like
Mhm.
if it's something that you stand in both, whether it's the left or the right or the middle. I
Mhm.
was listening to Jamel Hill's Unbothered podcast with Kerry Washington.
Okay.
Great episode. That's a plug. I mean, I'm not even getting paid by her or anybody. Hopefully one day I get to meet her, talk to both of them. I'm
Right.
again, but she was saying how Carrie was like saying how just because I'm a celebrity and just because I have reached this level of success, this does not discount me from even utilizing my voice. It is giving me the opportunity to even use it even more because
Mhm.
as a black woman in America, I have been like we have not been seen, we have been ridiculed, we have been there have been suppressed for us over years and years and years of generation. And so now it's our time to really truly influence and try to, help with the convention or whatever and anything of that nature. And I think it is important that we do take a stand on the things that do help with our own interest. But now my question for you, Justin, is do you ever feel like that um there can be some healing um that can take place, especially in the States? Do you ever think of us like being able to come together anymore? Or because I'm not a bleak person. I'm very positive.
Mhm.
But it's like, whoa, there's a lot of division. And that
Mhm.
shout out to infiltration from outside countries, social media algorithms, huh?
Mhm.
Advertising dollars. But anyway, I want to get your take.
Um, it's possible, but this country was created on white supremacy. and it is destroying the country. So, how is your foundation destroying you? You need a whole new foundation, but you, because we have people benefiting from white supremacy and white privilege, they're not willing to let that go at any cost, which we see with the Proud Boys and the KKK. First of all, that is how ingrained it is. The KKK is still an organization in the United States. You know how many people the KKK have murdered, and they are now they are now a still they're now an organization still in the U.S. to this day. That lets you know that this whole thing of coming together, kumbaya, isn't going to work. They're not just going to hand over power. And what's going to happen? Is there another civil war brewing? I have absolutely no idea. But
I think
yeah, but what I do know that they're not willing to let go of that power, and we're not willing to continue to be killed in the streets. So conflict, civil war, whatever it is definitely brewing.
mm,
Yeah. So healing is only going to happen like what is it? If my people will humble themselves. Now I'm messing up that scripture. But like call themselves, I will hear from heaven and heal the land. And the fact that they have used the Bible to not only use the Bible to enslave us, but also use the Bible to push their agendas. I still can't believe you call yourself a Christian and you're doing all this. First of all, if I every time I see a picture of white Jesus, I become immediately angry. First of all, they didn't change Jesus white. And so I'm like, y'all, that's how ingrained like these people, you do know that you're enslaving the same people of the man you saying you serve. Like I just don't what Bible y'all read? Because I'm pretty sure um feet like clay, that's ash, hair like wool, that's an afro. Like what y'all doing?
yeah,
Eyes like fire, skins like bronze. Like, have y'all seen what bronze? Like, I don't know. Do y'all? And I'm like, you're
yeah,
killing the same people that look like the guy that you're saying you serve. So
yeah,
I'm confused. So until they read the real Bible and get a revelation from on high, it's not going to get any better at
yeah,
all.
yeah. And again, with us being within the field of media, I always tell my friends, because I'm a neuroscience and theater arts double major with an entrepreneurship minor. A lot and like this the idea, like you
Mhm,
saying your math, right, and do this and this that, and they're like so many people ask me, oh my gosh, Tanaka, like why are you doing this? Like it doesn't make sense.
mhm,
Well, you look at it back in the 1930s, um, Disney was charged with the United States government to be able to create proper propaganda films against like the Nazi regime, and they did experimentation with MK Ultra and
mhm,
different like how what these hypnosis or how like these neurons are fired with your brain and that are influenced with to the public, to the masses, that has to
mhm.
deal with economics. So like it's so well. I mean, you got to say this system is not broken. This is the way that it was designed.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, exactly.
um, and so now it's like, and this is not even no conspiracy, guys, whatever. But it's interesting just to see how the world is. You know, it's changing,
Mhm,
and I definitely think that there is coming to for things to help in the greater. But of course, a lot of people are like, "Oh my gosh, this is really happening." And most people got to realize that America's very young compared to all other countries in the world. I think that this is like it's going through puberty.
mhm.
It's legitimately going like that's the way I said it to my friends. Like, yo, it's going. It's this is like the teenage phase. Everything that was there was broken. Whatever. Like, this nostalgia or this mystique.
Mhm,
And guess what, though? No matter what, like it's still a great place to live. It's just that now the things are just being unmasked or being shown or being exposed because now people have actually had the time to sit back and see what's really going on.
mhm. America is a teenager. Ooh, I cannot wait for it to become an adult thing because I'm tired. I'm tired of it.
Oh man. Well, now, just want to continue to be a good steward of your time. I just want to say first of all, thank you so much. These are the last couple questions that I
Mhm.
usually ask my guests. So my first question is, um, what are three things that you would tell to your 21-year-old self?
Three things I would tell to my 21-year-old self. You're on the right path. Spend more time with God. Experience everything you possibly can.
Why the last one?
Because experiences inform our creativity, our art, and our network.
Yeah.
And so I'm in a networking driven industry. I am a creative, I'm an artist. How can I create something that I've never seen or don't even know is possible? Like I wouldn't if I hadn't seen expose myself to actors at a young age, I wouldn't even know that this career would be even possible.
Yeah.
So experience as much as possible, cultures, people, food, wine. I'm a wine aficionado. Uh, so it's like experience all of that and then
Yeah.
write stories about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Second to last question is, um, then this is kind of off the cuff. What
Uh-oh.
does what does it mean to be rich? What does a rich life look like to you? Because you're in a field where there's so many definitions of rich and successful and these ideas. What does it mean to be rich?
You know, I always do the juxtaposition of the word rich and wealthy. Rich is about has a 5 year stint when wealthy goes to 3 or 4 generations.
Yeah.
So to have a rich life is really to have a foundation built on sand, but wealthy is having a solid foundation that will stand. But being rich as in like not necessarily with money, but being rich with experiences, opportunities, being rich with the people, with the right people in your life, it is it is really that fuel to really get you to live out your purpose. So
Mm,
rich with experiences allow you to create art, create stories for the world to see. Rich with the right people in your life allows you to be held accountable. All about accountability partners, having mentors, mentees. That really does keep you on the straight and narrow. And rich even with finances, you know, we're in 2020. It costs money to live, so you need it. But I'm like, I'm not opposed to that. It's not money isn't the root of all evil, the love of money. So when you
right.
start putting money above human lives and
Right.
money above decency and character, that's when it becomes an issue. But I'm all for being able to use the money to better the world and better other people and to better my life as well.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Y'all to pick up these gems, man. Uh, pick up these gems. And now my last question for you, Mr. Justin, is what do you want your legacy to be? I know, making you
Ooh.
think, making people. I love these questions.
Whoa, you really showing out. Let's see. Ooh, ooh. You know what? I do know what I want my legacy. And my legacy is what I want my legacy to be is from a quote by Irma Bumbeck. And I want to live that for myself. And I want that legacy to be passed down. That when I stand before God at the end of my life, I wish to not have a single bit of talent left so that I can tell him that I used everything he gave me. And I want that to be the legacy so that my kids and their kids and their kids' kids were like, well, I want to use everything God gave me, just like great, 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 great grandpa Justin. And I want that to be my legacy.
That's amazing. That's so good. This is how I end the show, man. That's good. It reminds me of my friend Courtney, Courtney Street. Shout out Courtney, one of the OGs of Campus Cuts. She came on season one. Or was this? Yeah, season one. Um, and whenever I asked her this question, she said to die empty. Um,
Mm.
and to die empty.
Okay, okay. I see some similarities in that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So man, that's just so good. But this is the way that I end the show. As a believer, and as a speaker, this is so true. Um, Life and death is spoken with the tongue. And so with that, before you depart, I want to continue to speak life over you because I feel like it's very important to give the people around us, whether it's family members and people, their flowers. So here we go. Mr. Justin Key, I just want to say thank you so much for all the things that you have done and how you're continuing to show people like me and like others, like especially a black man, of what is possible. You said it yourself that you want to live a limitless life, and what you're doing an example of that by utilizing your creativity, by utilizing your analytical mind, and by showcasing and demonstration of like an idea of what it means to be a voice and represent other people. To not be afraid to challenge the status quo, but most importantly, to be able to show that, hey, here I am, and I'm somebody that wants to do everything. And you cannot and will not tell me that I'm not going to do it because you know what? Gosh darn it, I've been created by God to do that. And so, with that, man, I just want to say thank you for being an inspiration and thank you for just being able to hopefully opening my mind and the mind for other people that have seen this and the people that have walked in your life, man. And I'm very blessed and I'm very honored, man. And of course, just you're a good brother. You are a good brother because you didn't have to, but you took an hour of your time just to continue just to speak. And you are living the life. You are doing a great job of being able to understand that you want to leave each and every day, each and every moment in your life empty and being your best. Love you, bro. I just want to say thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And those are your flowers, man.
Thank you. I'm a keep them and I'm gonna put them in a pot with some soil.
Yes,
Thank you.
sir.
I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir. Anybody, where, and how can the people find you?
You can find me at Justin Key 101 across every platform. I'm the guy with this face. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Follow him, Justin Key 101 on every platform. Check out his website. Check out whatever. He's on Netflix, by the way. So I'm telling you, I mean, like, man, this guy, real deal. He's a real deal. We are